I, 24, have been with my fiance, 24, for 7.5 years. We started dating our senior year of high school. He has always said that he was waiting to propose until we had enough money for a wedding. I always told him that I would go to the courthouse or have a very small wedding. He was the one that wanted a big party. There was also his family drama that held him back because he was hoping to mend his relationship with his family before getting married so that they could attend. Long story short, he finally realized that his parents weren't going to be civil and they are no longer in our lives. I began anticipating him proposing after that. He finally did this past Christmas. It felt like we were finally moving forward with our lives. After he proposed, I realized I did indeed want a real wedding, though still something small. He again was trying to make it bigger than what I wanted or what we could afford. He said that we should be celebrating our lives together after all the pain and drama we had put up in our lives. So I began planning a wedding. My father works at a private golf course and they offered to use a venue for a fraction of the cost. I don't have the exact numbers yet, but they waived the site fee, $5,000. I get all the enhancements for free, which is a $2,500 value, and I don't have to have their minimum person count. We're essentially paying for the food and drink and will still be given a discounted price. On top of that, my grandparents and parents are planning on chipping in. I really imagine my fiance and I only paying about $5,000 out of pocket for DJ and attire. And I plan on having people gift money for a house instead of items for wedding gifts. To me, this wedding is important and is a dream wedding that I thought I'd never be able to afford. But my fiance thinks that we should scrap it all and focus on buying a house in the next 2 to 3 years. But that we could get married at the courthouse, even though it was his idea for a big wedding. And maybe have a wedding after we buy a house. So to me, this means that I won't have a wedding for another 5-ish years, and who knows if my dad will still be at this job or have this amazing offer. Am I being unreasonable for wanting this wedding?
Am I wrong for rescheduling my friend's bachelorette party? My female 24, friend female 24, I've known about for 10 years is getting married in August. I am the maid of honor. We booked our hotel room in January. Party was planned for the end of May. I don't live in the same city as the bride, so her and the other girls in the bridal party are planning on driving to me, which is a 3-hour drive. I just found out that a trip me and my mom have been planning to Europe this spring for the last 3 years was already canceled once in 2020, has been canceled again due to low numbers in tour. Our travel agent had another tour we could choose that is for sure a go, but it would be interfering with the bachelorette. Travel agent said other tours later in the year are also not a guarantee and prices could change. I messaged the bridal party and apologized for needing to change the date, and I explained that this is a trip that is important for me and my mom, and we have limited options. The girls agreed to change the date to the end of April, and I spoke with the bride on the phone and all seemed well, and she said she understood and was optimistic everything would work out. The next day she messages me saying it's not going to work. We talk on the phone and she says the rest of the girls don't want to change the date as it is inconvenient for them and their schedules. As well, another friend was planning to fly in from another city. I had messaged her already to apologize. She had previously told me that flights were cheap and she also has family here or could visit the bride at the end of May if she couldn't change the flights. I told the bride that my mom told the travel agent to book this new tour and my mom is not changing it again. I asked why we couldn't pick another weekend when almost all of the girls have weekends off. I told her that if we don't change the date, then I will not be at the bachelorette. She said, I guess you won't be then. After, I messaged the bridal party group chat to explain to the girls I can't change this trip now and that there is a lot of money wrapped up in it. I said sorry again and just asking why they can't make another date work. I also gave the option that some could drive in on Saturday if not able to on Friday due to work. Another bridesmaid sent a huge message saying it was disrespectful that I expect 5 people to change their schedule for just me and that she knows I can easily change my trip to another date and that I don't get to make calls on the driving schedule. I stated I was not trying to disrespect anyone and was just giving options so that things could work out. I told her she was out of line for calling me disrespectful. I also was speaking to the bride on her own chat and I said I feel like she isn't backing me up on this and I feel hurt she is willing to exclude me. She said she doesn't have the confidence that I'll be there for her on her wedding day and that this isn't all about me, it's supposed to be about her.
One day my roommates were driving home and they saw a truck driving down the road with a bumper attached to the hitch that was just getting dragged down the road, and they thought, whoo, that sucks, who just lost a bumper? And then they drove up to our house and they saw my car parked out front, sans bumper, and they were like, oh no. And so they came in and got me, and I had to come out and talk with the neighbors, and we had to call the cops, and it was this whole huge thing. And then my neighbor had the audacity to tell the cop that the reason he ripped my bumper off of my car and drove with it for 6 blocks was because I parked on his hitch. And I was just like, excuse me, sir, I grew up in cow country. I know not to park on a damn hitch. Okay, every time I see your hitch on the street, all I can think to myself is he should take that off of his truck and put it in the back of the cab because that's gonna get stolen. That is good money. How dare you? How dumb do you think I am parking on a hitch?
Boyfriend's become really abusive since I told him I was pregnant. In fact, I think he actually tried to unalive me, but I'm not sure. He and I started dating 7 months ago. I actually suspect that he's a narcissist, but honestly, I can't be sure. That's why I'm telling my story on here to get some perspective. When we first started dating, he started love bombing me. I actually had to Google what that was because I wasn't sure, but after I did, I can definitely say that he did do that. Just after 1 week of going on dates, he told me that he loved me. Then basically, he just pressured me into becoming his girlfriend. He even went behind my back to speak to my parents and convince them to say yes to him. He obviously made a good impression on my parents and they convinced me to go out with him. 2 months into the relationship, everything was normal. He was really affectionate, loving. He made time for me. He would think of really creative dates. But anytime I didn't say thank you for the smallest thing. For example, if he opened the door for me and I didn't say thank you, he would get upset. Sometimes he'd make breakfast for me, and if I didn't say thank you in a very enthusiastic way, he would get really upset. After the 3rd month, he started accusing me of being ungrateful. And then after that, he started getting really jealous. He hadn't done this before, so I thought it was just a phase and that it would pass. But unfortunately, it did not. He started convincing himself that anytime I got a phone call, it was from some guy that I had met. Even going to the gym became a problem. He started asking me if there were any guys at the gym that I liked, or if anybody was approaching me, and God forbid if anybody looked at me on the street. He would somehow blame it on me. It got to the point where I wouldn't even want to go out with him. One day he decided to take me to this really fancy restaurant. Everything was going really well. He was acting like a normal boyfriend. But as soon as we sat down, I started getting this weird vibe from him. It's like he was absent. He wasn't there. He stopped talking and got really quiet. When I asked him what was wrong, he told me there was a table of 2 guys that kept staring at me. And that it was obvious that they knew me from somewhere, and that I obviously knew them too. Where did he get this stuff? I turned around to look at the guys, and they were middle-aged men who weren't even looking at me. Maybe one of them just happened to look at me when we came in. I ended up having to apologize. A few weeks ago, my period got really weird, so I decided to take a pregnancy test. At first, I told my parents and I told them that I didn't want to tell my boyfriend. My dad told me I was being silly and to just tell him, so I did. And when I did, his reaction was terrible. He told me that the baby probably wasn't his and that I was cheating on him for sure. Then he said that as soon as we could, we were going to get a paternity test. One night he made me dinner and I got really sick afterward. I started vomiting and I hadn't had any pregnancy symptoms, so I knew something was wrong. Instead of telling my boyfriend, I actually just went straight to my parents' house. They took me to the ER and there they told me that I probably ingested something that wasn't good. Now I'm thinking he might have put something in my food. What should I do?
Okay, so boom, let's jump right into it. So I was in what I later realized was a very bad relationship. But at the time, this dude was like a religion to me. I was crazy about him. My best friend at the time, sort of a mean girl, but I wasn't very good at making friends, so I put up with her being cruel to people. She would never do anything to hurt me, right? Anyways, that relationship started getting abusive, but I kept with it because, I was young and stupid. I convinced myself that if I tried a little harder, everything would just fix itself. It didn't, and after a few months, we broke up. Sometime later, I was at a party and my best friend was a bit drunk. And that's when she told me, while laughing the entire time, how she and my ex were sleeping with each other literally 2 weeks after we started dating. And it gets worse. Like and follow for part 2. Okay, so boom, like I said, my relationship with my boyfriend became abusive, so we broke up. Fast forward a couple weeks and I was at a party with my best friend and she was a bit drunk. She told me while laughing the entire time how she and my ex were sleeping with each other literally 2 weeks after I started dating him. Mind you, she's laughing while saying this. She went into detail on all the ways and places they used to sneak around to sleep with each other. And this was the girl I would cry to when my ex would abuse me. She didn't seem to have any idea that what she was saying was literally messed up. She actually thought that I would find it funny too. Safe to say that friendship ended. Be careful for fake friends out there, y'all.